Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. Cachefly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the premier radio networks on Saturday, May 26th, 2012. This is episode 877. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by ShareFile.com. Send files of almost any size easily and securely with ShareFile from Citrix. I have a great offer for you to get started, a 30-day free trial plus double storage when you visit ShareFile.com, click the radio microphone, and use the offer code TechGuy. ShareFile. Well, hey, how are you today? Good to see you. Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. It's time to talk about computers and the internet, cell phones and camcorders, MP3 players, and home theater. At 8888 Ask Leo. That's 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. of A. I got a silly hat on. I'll take that hat off. Oh, my. Well, the Apple has... we'll cover a couple of the top news stories and we'll get to the phones. All right? 8888 Ask Leo. I guess the biggest news is... James DeRuvo and Josh Windish are starting to get to work on that new Tech Guy site, and that's going to be up probably. What do you think, Josh? Next week or the week after? What do we think? Soon. How about that? Soon. TechGuyLabs.com. You can see the old site. Last chance to see what an old site looks like. 8888 Ask Leo. Yes, DC Charles in the chat room points out that soon it's been soon for the last 2 years. But it's really soon now. The Tech Guy does need a proper home on the internet. Thank you, Father. Padre SJ in the chat room also. Hey, that chat room, you can get there by going to techguylabs.com and clicking the chat link if you want to join us. Usually about 1,000 people thereabouts in there during the show. And I'll tell you, very important to me because the chat room is smarter, in aggregate, smarter than any individual, especially me. So that means, you know, if you have a question and I can't answer it, I betcha one of these smarty pants in there can answer it. And that's really, when you call the show, you're calling not just me, you're calling the vast army, the team Tech Guy that can answer any question. A couple of news stories. Gosh, I don't know where to begin with. I feel bad for this one, and I know a lot of you, many of you are BlackBerry fans and are sad too. RIM is pretty much going down the tubes. RIM is the Research in Motion, the Canadian company that makes BlackBerries, and it's amazing how quickly this has all gone down the tubes here. It's just, whew. They replaced the CEOs. They had a pair of CEOs. They replaced them. Now Patrick Spence, who is their global sales chief, is gone. He left this week. Many senior managers have left since the January replacement of the CEO. And I would guess that the new CEO who was brought in, Thorsten Heinz, has been brought in by the board of directors to really to fix the problem. And at this point, according to the Toronto Globe and Mail, which is right next door, so they should know. They say that the company's preparing for a major global restructuring beginning in the next couple of weeks that will see it eliminate 2,000 jobs worldwide, maybe even more than that. They only have 16,000 employees total. It'll be their second downsizing in a year. And it's all because the BlackBerry is just losing market share. It is now, at one point, it was more than half of all smartphones. In fact, at one point, really, it was the smartphone. Now it's only 7%. As the iPhone and Android phones just whomp it, stomp it, send it to the corner crying. I feel bad. I really do you remember how many of you, show of hands, I can't see them, but show of hands, why not? How many of you used BlackBerries at one time? I mean, I would guess most of us, right? Because that was the smartphone before the iPhone came along. My last phone before the iPhone was the BlackBerry Curve. Very nice little phone. I remember when I got my first BlackBerry, that wasn't even a phone, it was a pager. Remember that? It was a pager with a keyboard and a surprisingly large screen. Well, it was a surprisingly large pager. You kind of looked like a geek with that on your belt. It was almost as big as a phone today. But you could look at your email everywhere. It was kind of amazing. I remember interviewing the chief, the head of the head of the Federal Communications Commission in D.C. This was back in 2004. And it was Colin Powell's son, Michael Powell. And he was wearing a BlackBerry on his belt, checking his mail. I said, how do you use that? He said, well, it's not really as good as a computer for responding to email, but what I do, and I think a lot of CEOs did this, what I do is I go through all my email and I delete the stuff I couldn't care less about or it's just been CC'd on, and then what's left in my inbox is the stuff I have to act on. So when I get back to the office now, my inbox has been prepared. So it's a way of me keeping up on stuff. And if there's an emergency, of course, I'll get that email on my BlackBerry and I'll know and I can respond immediately. Everybody in government carried BlackBerries. That was huge. Every member of Congress, every senator had a BlackBerry. And now what? Remember even when President Obama came into office 4 years ago? The controversy was not whether he could keep his iPhone, but whether he could keep his BlackBerry. And they said, no, the president cannot carry a BlackBerry. It's a security threat. And they made a special, poor guy, Windows phone just for him. Oh man, not the current Windows phone. Things change fast in this business. 2008 was light years ago. Light years ago. I don't know. I'm being a little nostalgic because BlackBerries were amazing for a while. But we've seen this. Anybody who's done used technology as an enthusiast for any length of time has seen this happen over and over again. I predict this fall in October, when Windows 8 comes out, and I bet you there'll be a wave of nostalgia for the old Windows. There might be such a wave of nostalgia, people don't even buy Windows 8. I don't know. Microsoft said last week, Steve Ballmer said, we expect 400 to 500 million Windows 8 users in the first year. And then the entire world could hardly resist sniggering. Maybe we hit it behind our hands, but what? 500 million? No, come on, Steve. Get real. I finally have come to the conclusion that the problem with Microsoft is not its very talented, very smart people. They have brilliant engineers, as good as anybody. The problem with Microsoft is Steve Ballmer, the CEO. When Bill Gates left, they put Ballmer, who was really a sales guy, in. And he's just run the company into the ground. Yeah, I know they're still making billions of dollars in there. But it's just amazing to see the miscues, the missteps, the mistakes they make over and over and over again. And you can't keep doing that to a company for too long before it starts to show. Look at BlackBerry. I don't know. Did BlackBerry, now here's a question for you. You can answer this at 8888 Ask Leo. Did BlackBerry blow it? Or did Apple destroy them with the iPhone? I'd have to say I think it's the latter. I don't think BlackBerry necessarily did anything wrong. But when the iPhone came out, the whole game changed. And of course, BlackBerry wasn't ready for that. Remember how they responded to the iPhone with the BlackBerry Storm? Touch screen, in order to, you didn't tap, you had to press because the screen clicked. The screen was like a mouse button. And it was slow and it didn't work and the apps weren't very good. I think it's Jeff in the chat room says yes, the iPhone destroyed BlackBerry. And then that was the uppercut. The blow to the jaw, and then the haymaker is Android coming along and taking the other end of the market, and pretty much there's, that's a 1-2 punch. It's pretty hard to survive in. According to the Toronto Globe and Mail, they've been axing people at BlackBerry for months secretly. Lots of guys, according to one former RIM executive, lots of guys are being packaged out right now. That means they're not exactly laying them off or firing them. They're saying, we wouldn't mind if you decided to retire early, and we'll give you a little bit of a package to do it. It's a tough time for BlackBerry. They need to save about $1 billion this year to stay alive. That's a big, with a B. That's a big chunk of change. Let's go to the phones. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm going to show people ShareFile. It's from Citrix, so I'm a big Citrix fan. And they came to us and they said, hey, would you be interested in doing ads for this? And I said, well, let me look at it. Let me see. And I have to say, I'm very impressed. And so I've been using it. Let me log into my ShareFile account here. One of the things I like about this is it has branding. So I have the TWiT branding on it now. So it's kind of pro. The idea is if you're sharing large files, and I know a lot of you are probably using Dropbox or things like it to share large files, and you're doing it for business, you need to have something that's maybe a little bit better than just the consumer-grade Dropbox thing. One of the problems we have with Dropbox is I can't control what people do with the data in the Dropbox. So they were deleting the files. They were saying, I got it. Oh, it's taking up space on my hard drive. So I started doing ShareFile, and it's really great. It's a very easy way. This is how I send my commercials. I have an address book. I'll show you my address book of all my users. You can create new users, create new accounts. I can look at my personal address book. You have a company address book. These are people I've shared with. You guys going to take off? Do you want to get a picture or anything before you leave? You're okay? Come back someday, all right? Take care. Thank you. Thank you. That means the good seats are open, by the way, if you guys want to move over. I think the guys with obstructed views. So these are all the people that I share files with. It's really easy to share a file. For instance, I can share the folder with them, and they have permission. We totally control the permissions on this, by the way. I get email alerts if I want whenever a file is uploaded to it. I get email alerts whenever a file is downloaded. I can say they have to provide an email before they can download. I have all sorts. The control on this is fantastic. It's HIPAA compliant, fully encrypted, totally private. You have complete control of the files, and you no longer get bounce backs. And frankly, if I want to send a file, I can either send an email using ShareFile, or they don't even have to join ShareFile. I can just give them a link. And a link that I will email them, and then I can. These are all various permissions. I could say, email me when the file's been downloaded. Require recipients to enter name and email before downloading. You don't have to, but you can. You can say how many times they can download. You can say you can only download this once. Total control. It's just fantastic. They can upload files to it as well. So this is the ideal way to share files. Company branded, they see the TWiT logo when they download it. It just really is sweet. So if you have to share files in your business, if you're sending PowerPoint presentations or images or, as I do, audio files for commercials, this is fantastic. We got a special deal for you. 30 days on ShareFile and double storage. If you go to sharefile.com, you'll see they have a variety of plans. You pick the plan you want, the amount of storage you need, and they'll double it for 30 days when you use the offer code TECHGUY. And it's customizable, too, for your industry. So they have special features depending on the industry you're in. Photography, video, software, recruiting, real estate. So what you do is you go to sharefile.com. See that radio microphone? Heard us on the air? It says radio. You don't have to. It doesn't go tech guy, one word. Select your industry. You don't have to, but I'll choose video. Continue. And now you can choose the storage you want, and you get double storage because you said tech guy. Okay, so sharefile.com. Citrix just acquired this company, and this is going to be the way to share files and going forward. And I've been having not only does it work on Linux because it works out straight out of the browser if you want. They have clients, of course, for clients for Windows and Mac. I think maybe Linux. I'm not sure. What I do, for instance, is I have, just like Dropbox, you don't have to do this, but just like Dropbox, I have a folder on my desktop that's the ShareFile folder. Anything I put in there gets propagated. So when I share, like if I wanted to share the TWiT theme with Premiere, I just copy it there. And now it's in the Premiere thing. It'll upload just like it does with Dropbox. It'll upload, and once it's uploaded, they can access it. In fact, I can go back to my ShareFile account. This is the corporate one. And let's see if it's uploaded yet. Not yet, but it'll upload soon. And once it's uploaded, all, the people that I've said, all these people are going to get a notice that, hey, the new TWiT theme is there. You could change how that works, too, by the way. You could turn that off and on. Sharefile.com. Offer code TechGuy for double storage and 30 days free. Solved a problem. I won't say who, but somebody kept screwing with my Dropbox. I don't like it. And it's actually perfect for what I'm doing. And the link that you send them, the email link, that works in any browser. I'll show you. I'll paste the link in. Yeah, you might as well set it up. So when I did the link, I set it up so that you had to you don't have to do this, and I probably shouldn't do it, but I'm punishing Doc Bailey, so I'm making him do this. But we'll remember and skip this step from now on. Okay, continue to download page. And so they don't even have to have a ShareFile account or anything. They will see this download page, but it has the branding, which is very nice. So it looks like, if it's your law firm or whatever, it looks like you're, this is our special TWiT download site. And that's why it'll work fine on any operating system. And they even have iPhone, and it works on portable devices as well. And then when you download it and everything. So it's cool. It's very cool. Sharefile.com.
It is a light, I got your patch. The battery on my BlackBerry's gone flat. You claimed it was an essential fix. Turn BlackBerries into plastic bricks. I want to know why you feel the need.
Everybody wants to know why. What happened? We used to love our BlackBerries. Freeman says he's in the UK and BlackBerries are still huge there. Interesting. It's interesting that they're still big, huh? You don't see. Are you sure? Are you sure? More people have BlackBerries than Apple iPhones. We'll talk a little bit about there's a new iPhone coming. We think it's in the fall. We'll talk a little bit about the rumors around that in a bit, and also the hot new Android phone, which I think we finally know will be out June 20th on AT&T and T-Mobile. The Galaxy S3, but that's still to come. Let's get to the phones right now. I should probably go to Edinburgh first. From Scotland, Mike is on the line. Hi, Mike. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo.
Great to talk to you again. We've talked before, yes?
And you. Yep,
that's right. I can't imagine we have more than one listener in Edinburgh.
Oh, you'd be surprised, I think.
It's where my people are from. The old Laportes, the McLaportes. No, the Dunlaps. My mother's side of the family is the Dunlaps, and someday, someday I plan to get to the river. It's a river, right? The River Dunlap, or we're on the River Dun. We lap on the Dun. I don't know. It's something like that.
Oh, right.
I don't know. Mike, you are from Scotland, aren't you?
I'm originally from England, but I've been in Scotland for the last,
so you're not a Scot. You're a Brit.
Not originally.
I see. Got it.
Yeah.
So what can I do for you?
Take my call. Right. I've had the loan of an iPad for the last 2 weeks. First time I've really had.
See, that's a mean thing to do to somebody, to lend them an iPad, because all you're doing is creating a want and a need, aren't you? Didn't they? Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like saying,
It's
like say, sure, have this gold bar. Try it out for a week.
Yes, I know.
How do you feel about this Rolls Royce? Is it nice to drive? I want it back now. Do you like the Ferrari?
Exactly.
Yeah. So what is your impression? You'd never used one before.
Well, I was mighty impressed. And there was just a couple of things that I couldn't understand about it. One was why apps stay open when when I switched from one app to another, and sooner or later I discovered that there were, when I did the double click of the magic button, that there were about half a dozen apps all open.
Yeah, no, they're not really open. So this is a...
Are they not? Right.
No, and this is a real... to me, this is a real sticking point, I think, with mobile platforms in general.
Right.
So everybody, Android does this too. here's the thing. On a phone, even nowadays with these smartphones, the newest Galaxy S3 has 4 processors, a quad-core phone. Come on. The Windows phones, none of them are more than a single processor. Is 4 better than 1? On a desktop, maybe. On a phone, probably not. The phone is, no matter what you put in there, somewhat of a constrained platform. It doesn't have as much memory, doesn't have as much storage, doesn't have as much processor, doesn't have as much graphics. So, but people demand multitasking. When the iPhone first came out, and let's admit this, the iPhone is the template, the prototype for the smartphone. It did not do multitasking, and people complained because they wanted multitasking. They would have it on the desktop. Why don't we have it? And there are only really a few applications that even make sense to have the application keep running in the background. That's what I mean in this case. One is something like Pandora or a radio program or Spotify, something like that, where you're listening to music, now you want to do something else. Okay, that makes sense. But most of the time, like if you're playing a game and then you go to your contact list or you answer the phone, do you need the game to continue running in the background? No. And most of the time on a mobile device, because they're full screen windows, background processing is not something you want to waste memory, processor, graphics, and all that on. You really don't want. So what they do is they fake it. Most of the time, when you exit out of a program or you context switch to another program, the primary program is at best asleep. In many cases, it's actually closed, but you don't have to close it. Notice there's no close button on the iPad or the iPhone, and that's because they'll close themselves. The idea is you do what you want to do. We'll take care of the rest in the background, and we will protect our constrained resources. But to make you feel better about the whole thing, to really trick you, when you double tap the home button on an iPhone, it actually is the same thing on Android now, but when you double tap the home button on an iPhone, you get a long laundry list of apps that you've run once. Most of those that do not assume, and even if you hold it, they'll jiggle, 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 and you can close them as if they're open. Yeah. They're not. That's a lie. It's just to make you feel better.
Right.
So it makes it easier to context switch, I guess. Android, the new Android ice cream sandwich has this button. They waste a whole button. There are limited buttons on a phone. They waste a whole button on the ability to see what was running. Kind of a thumbnails of all the screens that are, quote, running. None of them are running. It's just the last thing you saw. It's a screenshot. It's a JPEG. So don't worry about it is my answer.
That's good. I was thinking, because even when I sort of shut it off and start it up again, they seem to be still...
They're still there. Yes. Yeah. So you've kind of sussed... You've figured it out. You saw through their little lie. None of this is running. And I know people who will actually... They'll press and hold the icon, and they'll press minus, 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 and close all these icons as if they're running. They're not. They're not using resources. Their memory's been purged. The program's been closed. It's built into the operating system. When you write an app for these mobile operating systems, you actually are told how to handle this. And you're always told, do not assume you are running in the background, because you ain't.
Okay, that's helpful to know, because I was thinking that sooner or later it was going to grind to a halt,
Don't worry about it. Think of it as Dark Crayon saying in the chat room, a list of recently used apps. Do not think of it as a list of apps running in the background. That's the impression they'd like to give you. They're not.
Thank you. The other question was, I use Google Apps, and I went into the Google Docs on the iPad, and I got the Google Docs app, and I was able to view the documents okay, but limited editing sort of power, and it sort of had the option to launch the desktop version. So I've tried that, but it just kept crashing. It just came up with an error message each time. And that's, I did look online to see if there's any way around it, and most of the forums I went to, they seem to be saying, no, there's no fix yet for that. But that's a bit of a deal breaker for me with the iPad, because I kind of looked on it as as well as being wonderful for being able to read stuff easily.
It's not ideal for Google Apps, and maybe that's Apple, maybe that's Google, but there's not much love lost between the two companies anymore.
Right.
In fact,
Is that like-
the next iPhone's not even going to have Google Maps on it, according to the rumors. So,
Right.
it's
Right.
you only recently were even able to edit Google Docs on iOS. I think, or even Android. So I think you're pretty much stuck. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Scott Wilkinson is here. I should have plugged him earlier. I just forget that you may not know that he comes in every day, every Saturday, around this time to talk about home theater. He is the online editor for Home Theater Magazine, hometheater.com, and our home theater correspondent. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Leo. So happy to be here, as always.
We were talking about one more little input. Okay, so I'm building a cheap home theater is what I'm building.
Right.
And one of the things I got to...
I wouldn't say cheap. I would say inexpensive.
Inexpensive. Yeah, it's not cheap.
Value-oriented.
It's not cheap, but it's the idea is to kind of get it roughly at the same price as a home theater with a flat panel would be, but yet to have a 120-inch screen. And
Right.
but the biggest saving was the 120-inch screen, which I got at mono price, and now that's the last piece. I've got everything. I've got 5.1 surround.
Oh, did you get the surround speakers?
Well, I'm using my existing
That's
back
right.
speakers.
That's right. The orbs, right.
Yeah, because wireless. So I'm doing a wireless thing in the
Right.
back. I have the projectors connected via actually kind of a nice, and I would recommend this if it seems to work quite well in my environment, wireless HDMI from Action Tech. So you plug it into the HDMI of the AV receiver, the little transmitter, and then the other side of the room is the receiver. That plugs into the projector, and I don't have to string a wire across the room.
Right.
And it seems to be okay.
That's great. You're
Now-
getting good picture quality.
Picture quality is excellent. Now, the only thing I'm worried about is that there might be a little lag, but I checked, and the receiver, the AV receiver, the Onkyo I got, has an ability to delay the sound slightly.
That's right.
So, and that's
right.
precise. I assume that's precisely what it's for, is that if there is a slight bit of lag as the wireless sends the HDMI video to the projector, that means the lip sync would get off, and I can adjust very finely,
Yeah.
by milliseconds.
By milliseconds, probably
Yeah.
5 millisecond increments.
Yeah, I can adjust it's actually, I think it's 1 millisecond, the delay. I'm not sure, but the delay. And so you add a few milliseconds, and suddenly the lip syncing is working. And it's pretty consistent, right?
That's right. They do that not only for wireless HDMI, but really most video processing takes longer than audio processing.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
even if you have a wired connection, they could get out of sync, and usually the audio needs to be delayed slightly in order to sync up with the video. So that's why there's a delay.
Yes.
And I'm glad you found that, and I'm glad you're using it, because that really makes a big difference.
Yes. Well, I actually checked because I thought maybe this wireless HDMI is going to cause that problem. So now I have and I know one of your readers has the same question. So I have a nice Onkyo. I bought an Onkyo 616, which is about $400 street AV receiver.
Very nice.
8 HDMI inputs in, so I can switch between them and all that. And it even has things like Pandora on it, so it's nice. Mm-hmm. And it supports 7.1 sound. I'm only using 5.1, but so it's great. Mm-hmm. But now I have to choose from all these different encoding and technologies for my audio when I listen to a Blu-ray.
There's all these audio modes, exactly. And I got this question. I get this question all the time, but most recently I got it from a guy named Adam Meyerson, who was kind enough to say to me at the end of his letter, "Help me, Obi Scott Kenobi. You're my only hope." I thought that was great.
It's cute, yes.
Anyway, he says, I've got this receiver. Should I choose Dolby Digital or THX?
Yeah, exactly.
And this is the big question.
Now, call me silly, and this is why they do it. The THX company has certified my receiver, right?
Right.
So I always use THX because I think, well, it must match better. But really, the receiver does it all.
That's right. That's right. Now, I want to dispel a common myth that this question belies, which is that Dolby Digital and THX are somehow equivalent or similar.
Oh.
They are not.
Oh.
Dolby Digital is what's called a codec, really, so which stands for coder, decoder. Mm-hmm. And it basically allows the content creator to encode a 5.1 or a 7.1 soundtrack into a bit stream, and which usually, in the case of Dolby Digital, is lossy, which means they throw away some information, and then put that on the disc or transmit it on the broadcast, and then the receiver decodes it back into a 5.1 channel surround sound soundtrack. THX is a form of post-processing. So it does nothing with decoding or encoding or anything like that. It's applied after the Dolby Digital or DTS soundtrack is decoded. So Dolby Digital or DTS decodes the audio from your disc or your broadcast, and then if you have a THX certified receiver, which you do, it then applies certain post-processing to the audio. For example, Dolby has THX has something called Loudness Plus, which is when soundtracks are mixed in the soundstage, they are mixed at what's called reference level, which is very loud. It's like an average of 85 dB.
I live in an apartment. I can't do that.
You can't do that. No. Most people can't. I don't listen at reference level. It's just too loud.
Yeah.
So when you listen at a lower level, certain things start to change. Certain timbral things particularly start to change. And you don't hear it the same way that the content producer intended. So what Loudness Plus does is it applies some EQ based upon psychoacoustical studies and various pieces of information that we know about how the human hearing system works to restore the timbral balance that people heard when they mixed it at reference level. Another one is, timbre matching. So if a plane flies from the front to the back, because your ears hear things on the sides differently than they do in the front, once again, you get a shift in timbre.
You're kidding. They actually pay attention to things like that?
They do. They absolutely do. Yep. So there are a variety of these processes.
By the way, what is timbre? Timbre. What is that?
Correct. It's tonal character.
It's not frequency. It's not.
Well, it is. It's not frequency per se. It's not like A 440 hertz.
It's kind of the overtones on the frequency.
Yeah, exactly. It's does the sound.
It's what makes a violin playing A 440 different from a piano playing A 440.
Correct.
It's the timbre.
It's the timbre. It's the tonal quality. It's the whole picture of all the overtones combining together. Does it sound buzzy? Does it sound mellow? Does it sound thin? Or does it sound rich? Does it sound boomy? Or does it sound clear?
Right.
These are all different ways to describe in words what you really can't describe in words terribly well.
Right. But you can hear. You can hear.
But you can hear.
I mean,
exactly
if you play, an A on the violin and an A on the piano, you know the difference.
Yeah,
and they're the same frequency, but the overtones make them sound differently. So the timbre is different.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct. Now,
I never knew what that meant. Thank you for explaining that.
There you go. Now, this is why I recommend buying speakers, your surround speakers, from the same company and from the same line, because there's also
timbres won't match.
The timbres won't match. Exactly right. If you buy your front speakers from B&W and your rear speakers from somebody else,
I have Emotivas in the front. And I have audio engines in the back.
Now, it's not unimportant, but it's somewhat less important when you compare the surrounds to the fronts. But if you bought front, right, and left from one company,
if the plane flying over sounds like a 747 in front and a Cessna in the back, my timbres messed up. Got it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So we didn't finish that, but you're saying you can use both Dolby and THX.
Yes.
They do different things.
Yes.
We'll come back and we'll explain that.
Sure.
Yeah.
You apply THX on top of Dolby. You can choose whether or not to apply THX.
Well, and then when I go through the settings in the Onkyo, there are a variety of crossover settings, for instance. And then there's a THX setting, which is, I think, 80 hertz. So should I generally pick the THX setting?
Yes, generally speaking.
Okay.
That would be the way to go. There's debate about whether or not that crossover frequency of 80 hertz is best or not.
It would really depend on the speakers, wouldn't it?
Correct. And even if you set a crossover of 80 hertz and your speakers can't reproduce that low,
right,
It just means you're not going to hear quite as much bass out of the subwoofer.
Well, they give me a choice. So if I don't have a sub, they say you can do full range sound on the left, right centers.
Right.
And
exactly.
these Emotivas, I'm sure, can do pretty good full range sound. So I could do that, but I have a sub.
And I would use it if you have it, absolutely.
Yeah, and so I'm using the 80 hertz crossover for all three.
Uh-huh.
And the sub has its own crossover setting, so I'm trying to match it, I guess, right? Or
No. The answer to that is, does your sub have a switch that bypasses its internal crossover?
Oh, so I should turn off the crossover. It does have a switch.
You don't want to have double crossovers.
Double crossover sounds bad.
Bad.
Okay.
Very bad.
I've been double crossed.
Now, some subs don't have a switch that lets you bypass its own internal crossover.
Right.
If that's the case, it'll have a control that sets its frequency. Turn that control up as high as it'll
all
go.
the way.
All the way up to 120 or 150 or whatever it is.
Right.
It's only getting 80 and below from the receiver.
Right.
So if you turn
Doesn't
that
matter.
control up as high as it'll go, it doesn't matter.
Just want to make sure you get everything it's getting from the receiver.
Right.
Yeah, and I do have that switch, so I will turn off the crossover switch on the sub.
On the sub,
Yeah.
correct.
I've been
And
very
let the
happy with the
receiver-
sound. The 3.1 sound is great. In fact, I'm listening to it as a stereo, and it just sounds wonderful.
Dr. T says, if THX and Dolby are not the same, how is it the receiver asks for one or the other? The answer is you can choose THX or Dolby Digital. If you choose THX, it decodes in Dolby Digital and then applies the THX.
Choose TXX, in other words.
Yeah, generally speaking, I would.
I'm lucky because the apartment I'm in has concrete floors. I'm on the third floor, so there are people below me. But these are thick concrete floors, so I'm not too worried about people below. What I'm worried about is the people next door. But I've made friends with them.
Good.
They have it's a nice lady, and she has wild parties with her girlfriends. And she says, "Well, do you hear us screaming and cackling?" And I say, "Yes, but I don't care as long as you don't mind a helicopter flying over once in a while."
Excellent.
It is polished concrete KSH. Yeah, it's quite nice. I love it. It's very. My apartment's kind of highly industrial. They call it the lofts, and it's got a
loft.
30-foot ceiling with exposed.
Do you have like carpeting? You're not.
No. It's
concrete?
they carpet a little bit of it, and then I have throw rugs. But actually, the bare concrete's not so bad. It's fairly warm, and it's nice, and it's polished, so it's nice. I love it, and it's easy to clean.
Does it have
hose it
some
off.
concrete floors have radiant heating?
They may, because it never feels cold. So they may be running the hot water pipes through it or something like that.
Right.
Because it never feels chilly.
Cool.
Yeah, it's nice. So and so now my drive-in movie, basically the apartment, a one-room apartment, is a drive-in movie theater. I'm set. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
I love it.
John was on vacation. John's going to help me hang the screen at Jammer B, and so he was on vacation, so he comes back next week. So we'll
He's been on Chautauqua.
He's been on Chautauqua. He's been on a what do they call it? A walkabout. Yes. Hold on. Here we go. We're going to let you finish this.
Cool.
What's my commercial?
You don't have one here, actually.
How can that be? We're going out of business.
All right, you're on.
I don't know what this is, but I love it. Definitely classic rock. Kyle Benham, our musical director at the controls today. Now I get it. Little AC/DC. I should have recognized that Angus's guitar right away. So Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guy, we kept him around because we really, we got in the weeds, and it's my fault, and I apologize. You were describing when you have the capability on your receiver of choosing from Dolby or THX, which should you choose? That's what our correspondent asked, and I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah.
And what you explained was that Dolby is just the compression algorithm. It's how it's compressed. THX is how the sound is processed after compression.
After decompression.
Decompression, rather.
After decoding, after it comes back to being PCM audio.
So you want both.
Yeah, generally speaking, I think THX does good things to the sound. Of course, you do want to try it out, see if you like it. I mean, sound quality is somewhat subjective, and Adam, the guy who wrote me, said, "I fear you will tell me just do what sounds good, but I want more information."
Well, I don't trust my ears.
But you have to trust your ears as well.
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
so try it with it on and off. And you brought up a good point in the break, which was sometimes on a receiver you'll be able to choose Dolby Digital or THX, which leads to this confusion of THX must be the same as Dolby or similar to Dolby. But what that means is if you choose THX, it's going to decode in Dolby and then apply the THX post-processing, whatever it has. And in some cases, there are several different pieces of post-processing, and you can individually choose to turn them on or off. And if you choose Dolby, then it's simply not going to apply the THX post-processing, and it's going to decode in Dolby and go along its merry way.
Yeah.
So that's...
because some people are saying, well, wait a minute, I have to choose THX.
Generally speaking, I would say
because you'll get both. Best of both worlds.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you don't like it. Now, there's also there's DTS. Which is DTS? Is it decoding or is it
DTS is a codec?
So it's Dolby or DTS.
Correct.
Got it. Is there an equivalent for THX that might be on our receivers too?
No, THX does not do codecs.
It's not compression, decompression. It's merely post-processing.
Correct. It's signal processing, it's audio processing to help give you the best experience you can. Another one is called re-EQ or re-equalization. When they mix movies for the theater, they add a little brightness because the speakers are behind a perforated screen when you go to a commercial cinema.
Right.
And they're far away.
Right.
But when you come home, the speakers are much closer in, and they're mostly not behind a perforated screen.
That actually raises another question. Should I leave the grills on my speakers or not? I don't have little kids who could poke holes in the cones. So.
The grills shouldn't make any difference, ideally. They should be completely acoustically transparent.
Because I'm afraid I'll poke a hole in the cone. I just look at it and I go, I want to poke a hole in that. I just can't help it. One of these days.
Better keep the grills on.
A lot of audiophiles say, take the grills off. But
yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think it generally shouldn't matter. If it does, then the grills are not well designed.
Yeah. Well, these are nice. These what are they called? I forgot. They're not Emotic. They're
Emotiva.
Emotiva. There's a lot of emotion in my house. I use Emotic speakers and Emotic headphones and Emotiva speakers. These Emotivas are well designed. I'm presuming, even though they weren't too expensive, that the grills are well designed.
Oh, they probably are. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So it shouldn't make any difference.
Well, now I feel better. Scott Wilkinson's our home theater guru, and you can see why. You can find him at hometheater.com. And his podcast, Home Theater Geeks, is every Monday at 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern on our podcast network, twit.tv. Who's your guest on Monday?
On Monday is Kevin Miller, an ISF calibrator, video calibrator, who just finished a 6-panel face-off of 6 different flat panels, 3 plasmas and 3 LCDs, with like 70 people judging the picture quality.
Wow, the golden eyes, huh?
Well, not necessarily. There were some experts there, including the godfather of plasma, the guy who made plasma commercially acceptable or commercially possible, feasible. But 70 some users as well, just end users. The face-off was conducted at a retailer in New York. And so their customers came in and gave their opinions, and they also kept track of the expert opinions as well, which in this case matched. Both the experts and the non-experts agreed on what was the best one.
So tune in Monday, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern, to find out. Boy, that's a terrible thing to do to people, to find out which screen is the best. Scott Wilkinson's Home Theater Geeks. You can also get it after the fact. All of the shows are available for download in audio and video at twit.tv/HTG for Home Theater Geeks. Thank you, Scott.
My pleasure. See you next week.
Appreciate it. We're going to get back to the phones right now and keep answering your questions and your comments. Gary, San Diego, you're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Leo. And I called last year to say thank you for recommending Handbrake for the file to use MKV files, and then also someone in the chat room recommended Xmedia to either convert it to various platforms. Just letting you know.
I don't know that. X Media. I'll have to check that out. All right. Handbrake is fantastic.
Yeah. I was wondering, in terms of for the iPad, should I put like an antivirus for it? Because, like, for example, for on my Mac Mini, I have the ESET for cybersecurity on that one. So I was just wondering, should I put an antivirus for the iPad?
No.
Oh, okay. So it's more secure.
No, it's much more secure. In fact, a couple of things are going on the mobile platforms. First of all, these operating systems were designed after desktop operating systems. One of the reasons desktop operating systems are so much at risk is when Windows was first created and the kind of the structure for how Windows operates was first created, there weren't any viruses. It wasn't an issue. All of a sudden, it's an issue. You've got a back patch. Even OS X is old enough that it's somewhat vulnerable, although somewhat less so to viruses. So both Microsoft, Google, and Apple, when they designed these portable operating systems, said, let's see, can we do this better? And they do a lot of things, the iPad particularly and the iOS particularly, do a lot of things to protect you. You might have noticed, for instance, that applications don't really communicate with each other, or you can't even see files. You can't put your own files on there. You can't even install applications that aren't approved by Apple on there. All of this protects you. It's a little different on the Android side because, first of all, Google is not particularly vetting apps before they put them in the marketplace, so a number of malicious apps have made it into the marketplace. But in both cases, Apple and Google have the ability, they have something called a kill switch. As soon as they discover that something is problematic, they can kill it on your phone even. They can just throw the switch and the app goes away from your phone. So they have ways of protecting you. On the Android side, there is a free program called Lookout, which is harmless to use, and I think is probably a good thing. I don't know of anything for iOS, and I think that's primarily because there's no reason for anything to exist. Apple doesn't let anything into the App Store. If you jailbreak your iPad or iPhone, all bets are off. Jailbreaking an iOS device means you've set it up so that you can use applications from third-party sources, not Apple, and that opens you up. That does open you up to problems, and there have been problems with jailbroken apps. So I don't recommend jailbreaking. I think it doesn't add a lot of value, and it does add to the risk. But as long as you haven't jailbroken your iPad, there is, as far as I know, no need for antivirus or a malware solution on the iPad. That's one of the reasons I tell people, you might hear me sometimes recommending iPads to people who have gotten viruses or who are having trouble with their systems. They're just much simpler. And I do think the time is coming when the vast majority of people who are using computers are not using laptops or desktops. They're using tablets. Because for most people, not all people, some of us still need a keyboard, some of us still want windowing, some of the things that you can get on a quote, real computer. But for most people who are using technology and computers, they don't need that. If you're just surfing and doing email, a tablet, particularly the iPad, is plenty. Renee and no security issues. Renee in Vancouver,
Hello?
British Columbia. Hi,
Hello?
Renee. Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. What can I do for you?
Good. Well, I'm looking for camera recommendation. I'm going to Greece and Italy this August, and I was also
how fun.
Yeah. I was also hoping to use the camera to record video clips for a new blog site I put up.
Great idea.
And so
Great idea.
I don't know if it's good.
All of the point and shoots nowadays, all of them take video.
Awesome. Do they also record sound to go with the video?
They sure do. And some of them even let you use external microphones, which sometimes can make a difference. Depends what you're shooting. If you're what kind of blog is it? Like it's going to be a travelogue blog?
No, it's a blog sort of related to my work, related to peer support and mental health.
Well, I want to talk to you some more about it. We have to take a break at the top of the hour. Your local news. Renee, will you hang on?
Sure.
Because I'd love to talk to you a little more, and I'm going to make some recommendations. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number if you want to talk computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders. Or, as Renee in Vancouver wants to do, talk about cameras. She's going on a trip. I'm very jealous, to Italy and Greece this summer. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You want a camera not only for shooting stills, but you want to shoot video.
Yeah.
And you said your business is peer counseling in mental health. Is that what you said?
That's right, yes.
So you have a blog. You don't have to tell us,
Sure.
but can I put the blog on? Yeah.
Sure. It's http://.
Hey, Renee, you don't have to say that anymore. Everybody knows HTTP.
Okay.
No browser needs it.
Okay.
I'll save you 5 characters, 6 characters. You don't have to say that anymore. 7 characters. So what's the site?
Purework, all one word, .wordpress.com.
Purework.wordpress.com. And why are you going to just, because you're traveling around, you just thought it'd be fun to have video of your travels? This looks nice, by the way.
I'm going to be taking photos mostly of my travels, but then for the WordPress site, I wanted to do video interviews and things and be able to post them on the site. So I wanted to use it for both things. And I was hoping I could get a camera with lenses that you can change, but I don't know if it's realistic for my price range, but I could go up in price. I was thinking $600 to $700, but I could potentially spend more.
Yeah, so if you're going to, in that price range, and you want interchangeable lenses, which I think is not a bad idea, you're probably going to go with a Micro Four Thirds system. That is, so once you get to interchangeable lenses, there are then 2 choices. Do you want what's called a DSLR, where you look through the viewfinder and it goes through the lens, and that has a mirrored system to do that, just like the old film SLRs? Or do you want a mirrorless system, and that's what the Micro Four Thirds systems are. And
I don't know which is better.
Yeah. Well, the best and the most expensive are the DSLRs because they have the the biggest sensors. So a big sensor is going to let more light in. It's going to give you better look, but they're very, very pricey. So I think that you're going to be fine with a smaller sensor. The Micro Four Thirds is fairly small, but okay. Then there are cameras with slightly bigger sensors, the APS-C size, and then there's the full-size sensors. My friend Andy Anatko has just fallen in love with a new, and he has a limited budget, and I believe this is within your budget, a new mirrorless Micro Four Thirds. Let me just go to Andy I and look at his, because it says in his pictures on Flickr. It's the Panasonic GX1.
Panasonic GX1.
Now, let me look at the pricing on this. Yeah, it's in your price range. It's about $700.
Okay.
It is the latest mirrorless camera. It shoots video at 1080p, full high def.
Oh, cool.
And excellent sound.
Record okay sound? Excellent sound. Oh,
yeah,
good.
Excellent sound. Although, always on-camera sound is not going to be as good as if you could take a microphone and attach it. And I'm not sure on this camera if it has a microphone jack or not. So let me see if I can find out for you.
Okay.
So I think this is an excellent choice. It's fairly compact. That's one of the advantages that Micro Four Thirds have. Because they don't have a mirror, the bodies are smaller. It comes with a zoom lens that's fine, but you can then upgrade. Another good choice is the Sony NEX, but I have to say Andy really likes this. It's 16 megapixels. It shoots raw HD video. It goes up to a very high ISO. That means it works very well in low light. Yeah. I think this is probably a good choice for you. Full kit is a little pricey. The list is $950. That means you'll probably be able to find it for around $8. But I think it's still close to your price range. That means with a lens.
Yeah.
And it's made of metal, so I think this is going to be a good choice for video as well as stills. It's a nice camera. It has a built-in flash, so you don't have to worry about carrying around the flash.
I just also want to make sure that the audio will be okay, because I'll probably be interviewing people with it. So did you see if it can have that?
Yeah, let me check, because that's going to add expense, because then you'll have to get an external microphone and be able to plug it into the side and all of that stuff. So let me just see if anybody says whether it has that external microphone jack or not. I'm looking at a review on Gadget.
I could go up in price as well. It was just sort of a starting amount.
Well, I don't want to spend too much more. You want to have some money for fun in Greece and Italy, and they need your money.
True.
Goodness knows.
Yes.
The other thing you might want to look at, the chat room's telling me that the NEX F3 from Sony is coming out. Now, Sony is also a Micro Four Thirds Actually, this is a bigger sensor, so it might even be a better choice. Let me look at this.
Okay.
Let me look at this one. It's hard to keep up now. I mean, I've reviewed as many of these as I can. The NEX F3, I haven't seen yet. That's supposed to be coming out any minute now. I don't know if... When is your trip?
Not till August.
Yeah. You have time then.
Yeah.
I would go... So there are a number of sites to look at this. dpreview.com is a very good one, where they'll review all of these. What you're looking at is... the thing I don't like about the Sonys is the body's tiny and the lenses are big, and they look very... They just look funny. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna stick with this. I would say look at this. The
Panasonic. You're thinking.
The Panasonic. Now, on the other hand, okay, Gadget's saying when push comes to shove, Sony's NEX C3 still remains the one and only steal at $550, including an 18 to 55 lens. You should look at it though. Go to a camera store and look at it because it's kind of funky looking. Because the lens is big and the body's tiny. It's kind of hard to get used to.
Right.
I would say the GX1 is a very good choice, especially given that you're shooting video.
Yeah.
And then I will keep listening because what I'm going to do is I'm going to look carefully and see which one. GX1 has an internal only mic, unfortunately, on no external jack. So that's not a great choice, though. I think the quality is so good on these cameras that you're going to be happy with the stills that you get. I think you're going to be happy with the video that you get. So now it comes down to things like how it feels in your hand. You know, whether it's got an external mic. That's unusual. But for what you're doing, I think it would be a nice thing to have. So let me look and see if I can find a camera that does have an external mic for you. Boy, that sounds like a fun time.
Oh, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. We start in Venice, and then we do a cruise of the Greek Isles, and then we end up in Rome. So
okay, just rub it in. Just make me feel terrible.
You're probably doing one of those geek cruises.
I am. I'm going to Australia in the fall, in November. So I guess it's okay.
Sound like fun.
It's okay. Yeah, sometime you'll have to come with us. They're really fun.
I would love to, yeah.
Well, Renee, thank you for doing the work you're doing. I think, unfortunately, mental health is not very well taken care of in our society. We turn our back on people with mental health issues. I have a family member who has mental health issues, and I really am sensitive to this now. And I think what you're doing, peer support, is very, very important. So I think what you're doing is important.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Have a great trip. Enjoy it. Oh, I'm just going to Venice, and I'll just sail around the Greek islands, just a little cruise. It's tough to pick. I'm reviewing a couple of other cameras. Fujifilm just sent us the X100 for review. Beautiful camera. Not interchangeable lenses, however. I think she's smart to be looking for interchangeable lenses because it gives you a lot more flexibility. But at the cost of complexity, additional, higher price, and so forth. I am very impressed. I'm very impressed with these Sony NEXs. I think they've done some very interesting work. The new Nikon D3200, Murray on Travel in our chat room says, has an external mic input, good video, and is only $700. That would be a good choice because it's a Nikon with interchangeable lenses. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. It's 80s Day today on the radio show. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo's the number. If you like the music, Kyle Benham's playing, our musical director. You can find a playlist on his Google Plus account at the end of each show. Kyle space Benham, Benham. Or on our website, techguylabs.com, because James will put it there when he's done with the show notes at the end of the day. So now that I look, thank you, Murray on Travel, in our chat room. And by the way, you can get to the chat room at techguylabs.com. It's a good place to go to get in the chat room. Murray recommended this camera, and the more I look at it, the more I like it for Renee and her travels. She's got a couple of things she wants. She wants a good still camera. She's willing to spend a little more for interchangeable lenses. That's a great idea. She also, though, wants to shoot video, and in particular, she wants to shoot video with high-quality audio. And that is not easy to do. Most of the time, great video is easy. Almost all point and shoots, like the Canon S100, which is very compact, beautiful, have great video capabilities, high def video. But the audio is almost always from a microphone on the camera. That's a negative for several reasons. First of all, you're right next to it. And so any, handling of the camera, wind noise, bumping, even motor noise in the camera as you zoom will get transmitted right to the microphone. It can really destroy the sound. It's probably adequate for, home use, but not good quality sound if you really care about it, if you're doing interviews, as Renee plans to do. So she wants an external microphone. She's right. But the choices there then become very limited. Murray on Travel in our chat room suggested this Nikon D3200. This is Nikon's new entry level, very affordable list price with the lens, $700. It's 24 megapixels. It's an APS-C sensor. That's a big sensor, not full frame, but as close as you can get, certainly in this price range. It has a mini jack for a microphone, so you could buy. I use the Rode Stereo mic, RODE. That actually has it mounts into the shoe for your flash. Actually, I don't know if this camera has a shoe, hot shoe. Yeah, it does. It mounts into the hot shoe for your flash. So it sits on top of the microphone, and then it has a mini jack that plugs into the side and gives you good stereo sound, really good stereo sound. This shoots 1080p high-def video at 30 frames per second. Nikon really pioneered DSLR video, so they know what they're doing here. Interchangeable lenses. This has got everything you want, and it's in the price range, Renee. A couple of tips. When it comes to lenses, I would get just the body. I wouldn't get the lens, what we call the kit lens. It's not that there's anything wrong with the kit lens, but you might get better. Murray suggests, what was it, Murray? The 18 to 200? He says for travel, that may be a little longer than you need. But that's a big, long zoom, which gives you, you're standing on the boat and you want to get a picture of somebody on the shore. That 200 on that camera is really 300 millimeters, is very long. But you probably do want a wider zoom than the kit lens, which is, I think, 18 to 55, or the equivalent of 24 to 80 millimeters. That might not be horrible. The advantage of getting the Nikon body is now my suggestion is get the best lenses you can afford, because as your photography gets better and you want a better camera, you're going to keep those lenses. It's worth investing in what we call good glass, because you're going to keep those lenses and you can get an instant upgrade by upgrading the body. And that would be great. I think probably the 18105 would probably be sufficient. Good for travel. It's nice. That's a $400 lens, though, so it might be out of your budget. When you go lens shopping, you're going to have to be a little careful because the lenses can really get expensive. But again, you buy a good lens, you keep it for life. And the bodies are constantly getting upgraded. 18 to 200 is an $850 lens. Maybe that's a little bit out of your price range, Renee. That seems a little bit much. You're gonna have a great time. You're gonna really have a great time, and it's good to bring a good camera. When you're going on a trip, a once in a lifetime trip like this, get the best camera you can afford. You're gonna be so happy. And this one's nice. I'm very impressed with what Nikon's done with their entry level SLRs, DSLRs. That's the Nikon D3200, which is right in your price range. Amazingly, the list price $700. And on Amazon, I was able to find it for $709 with a pretty nice lens. It came with the, I think it was the 18 to 55 lens. So, very good choice. Dennis, Marina Del Rey, you're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Dennis.
Hey, Leo. Great recommendations on the camera. I've been a professional photographer for over 40-something years, so great recommendations. She's going to be totally pleased.
What do you shoot? Are you generally professionals are either Nikon or Canon?
Actually, I shoot Leica.
Well, the top professionals shoot Leica. That means you're very serious about your photography. What do you shoot the new Leica M9? What do you shoot?
I have a collection. I have a collection of the old M2 and 3s, and then some
I'm jealous.
some of the, yeah. No, I've been collecting it for many, many years. So
these are beautiful cameras made in Germany. They went through a down period in the 80s and 90s. Were acquired by somebody who really revered the Leica brand, and he has brought the camera back with digital. And the new Leica digitals were very much top of the line cameras and a top of the line price. We're starting at $2,000 and up.
Yeah, the one I don't use is Sony because I've had such terrible luck with them in customer service. But I would recommend everybody go to Flickr and look at Leo's pictures. Leo, you have become a really accomplished photographer.
Oh, you'd be
very proud of you. So you're doing a great job, man.
Oh, now you're making me blush. For me, it's a hobby. And as a guy who works in radio, I'm very tuned on the ears, and audio. So I wanted a hobby that took me completely outside of my skill set and start doing something that's visual. And it's been really great way to kind of expand my brain and to kind of do something new. The Leica, when we were in Norway for the Nordic Light Festival, the Leica folks were there giving people a chance to not only play with their M9, which is just a gorgeous old style, old school camera, beautiful. But they also let us play with their new S system, SLR, which is, I think, a $40,000 camera. And,
can't afford that. But maybe you can help me out with the problem. I'm really having a problem, and you're the only one that can answer this.
Sure. What can I do?
Okay. I have, the Android phone, and love it based on your recommendation. On my desktop, which is iGoogle, couple of months ago, the contact manager disappeared. No contacts. Now I can go into www.google.com/contacts, and I can find them. But when they don't appear on the desktop, and I've done another.
Yeah, this is actually an easy fix. The way iGoogle works is it lets you put modules together to create a desktop with things like your maps, your stock prices. I have movie times, Google Reader on mine, and so forth. The contacts are just another app. So
right, and I've done that. It doesn't work. Google Calendar, the time, the date, the weather.
None of them work. So if you look at the official Google Contact app and you put it on there, it doesn't work?
It does not work.
All right. Well, hang on, Dennis. Let me see if we can figure this one out. That's interesting. That is a strange problem. Let me try see what I can do here. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We often have visitors in the studio. We've got a bunch of them in here. It's really nice to have old friends Bob and Jackie from Chicago visiting. They brought me some goodies from Marshall Field and a Chicago coffee mug, which from Channel 11 WTTW I will cherish. And then Fred's here from Richmond, and Fred brought some chocolate. It's an interesting story. This is Cho, right? Is that how you say it, right, Fred? TCHO. It's made in San Francisco, but it's run by Louis Rossetto and Jane Metcalf, the founders of Wired magazine. After they got done being, startup types, they said, our next startup should be something sweet. And they've created Cho Chocolate, which has become a real favorite in Silicon Valley among all the geeks. And what's kind of cool about this, so he brought me a jar of dark, which is good because I can eat the dark chocolate. In fact, it says the last good drug on it. And it says, this cap is not childproof. Children are encouraged to open this container. and it's 30 helpings, a 30-day supply of dark chocolate. I think that's a very good idea. So I'll put this next to my vitamins, on the counter, and I will have, because they do say that there's antioxidants in chocolate that are very good for you. So I've got chocolatey, citrus, nutty, and fruity. Yum! Thank you. That's very nice of you. Yeah, and then the Frango mints, and these are classic Chicago treats from Marshall Field. I know. I just want to say, if people want to bring candy, they're not required to, but I'll never turn it down. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 8888 Ask Leo. And we get back to the calls. Oh, actually, I was in the middle of talking to Dennis in Marina Del Rey, Dennis the photographer. So his iGoogle isn't working. Now, if you go to contacts.google.com, you see your contacts, right?
Yes, I do. And while you were on hold, you just made me think of something funny with your chocolate there and the caffeine in it. That would get you wired.
Maybe that's why they call it Wired Magazine. A little too much caffeine and chocolate.
Just trying to keep you current.
Do they have widgets for Google Contacts, and are there widgets by Google for? I get the sense sometimes from Google that iGoogle is something that they are kind of letting go.
The one I'm using is by Nicholas Wilde.
That's probably why it stopped working. It would be my guess as to why it stopped working.
Okay, I've tried several of them, but it just says the contents cannot be displayed in this frame, and open a new, in there in blue down below it says open this window, and it says URL not found. So, who knows? It'd be my
best guess. I'm just looking to see if I have a contact list in here. I do not. And I don't even see any more where you can add a new item. So there maybe I wonder new gadgets. Where are the new gadgets? They've hidden them. Maybe Google has deprecated iGoogle.
I don't know. It's just so much easier to change contacts than it is actually on the phone itself.
Yeah. You don't have NoScript or some other JavaScript or security item on there or anything, right? That could be blocking.
No, the only item I'm using on here that's a fantastic product is called ESET. And,
love ESET. I've heard of them. But I don't, once or twice. But I don't know, make sure that they're not blocking JavaScript. I don't think that they would. Let me look at the gadget page and search for contacts. If there is an official Google one, I see the Nicholas Wilde one. That's the most popular. And I don't see any from Google. So I'm wondering if maybe Google doesn't provide a contacts widget.
It was working fine up until a couple of months ago, and all of a sudden, and of course you can't call Google. They're not going to answer. And you can't Verizon, and they're not going to answer. One other question. I don't think this is solvable, but if it's not, one other quick question. On my phone, which is the Android X, for some reason, some of the calendar entries are in the private phone calendar, and then I noticed that there's some from Google. Is there an easy way to merge both of those? I don't think there is.
Is it the category you're talking about that they're different, or they're actually in different phone books?
There are different phone books. One is in the personal phone book, and one is in the Google phone book. And I would like to have.
I see.
They show up because they say show up both calendars, but it would be nice to have it so it appeared on the desktop, or so that I could save those.
Boy, you got me stumped both times. Okay, now I'm looking. Fenix in our chat room is saying that older versions of the Google Contacts API, that's the programmer's interface, were deprecated in April. So that's why it doesn't work anymore. That the old way they were working, I'm back on the previous question, by the way. The way they were working was changed just last month. And I bet you that's about when your widget stopped working. What I don't see is another one from Google, but that's what I would look for, is a Google Contacts widget. Well, they don't even have editor's picks anymore. I'm really thinking Google has kind of said, iGoogle is over.
Yeah.
iGoogle is over.
Okay. Thank you.
And then let me think about this issue. You have a personal contacts. I wonder if those are coming from your SIM card. Where are those personal contacts coming from?
Actually, I think what happened was I must have entered them into the calendar on the personal phone, and they're probably stored on the SIM card. And then I realized that I had other ones on there from Google, so I've got them from two calendars, but I've got it set up that I can view both. It would just be nice to have them all in one calendar. And
I would guess if you go to your go to contacts.google.com, if both show up, that you should be able to merge them together. One of the things Google did that really bugs me is they've added my circles to my contact list, so my contact list suddenly jumped in size massively.
Right.
As somebody in the chat room just said, Google has a short attention span. They seem to change their mind on what they want to do all the time. And it's unfortunate because I'm hugely dependent on Google Calendar, Contacts. This is what I use because I use an Android phone, and even on the iPhone it works, it syncs. But Google just doesn't.
Have to switch over to iPhone.
This is an opportunity for somebody. Apple hasn't figured it out. Microsoft hasn't figured it out. This is an opportunity for somebody to do a better job. Because Google's just really, as Raven says in our chat room, getting annoying. They're getting annoying. And why would you want to annoy your customers, really, Google? Is that a good idea? And you know why? They're doing it because they're scared of Facebook. It's the Facebookification of Google, and it's really a shame. Just stick to your knitting, kids. Do it right, and worry about your customers a little more and a little bit about Facebook a little less. Dennis, I'll keep looking because but I would guess that there'd be a way of merging the personal phone book and the regular phone book from within contacts.google.com. There's quite a few settings in there and quite a few hidden settings, but I do see find and merge duplicates. You can export one phone book and import it into the other one. I bet you there's a way to do it. Beatmaster says, understanding Google is like trying to figure out a single ant while looking at an anthill. It is an anthill, isn't it? Aaron in Mesa, Arizona, you're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo, it's Aaron B. from the chat room. How are you?
Aaron B. in the chat room. That's two chatters in a row here.
I know. Well, you can't get away from us, with being your brain and all.
Yeah, you are my brain, right?
The right side is called. Now the left side's calling to say, "Wait!" No. So I have. I'll just jump right to the question. First of all, I love it whenever Scott shows up. I just want to say that publicly.
Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guy, he is great. Yeah.
And whenever Scott Wilkinson shows up, it is awesome.
You're a loud, proud Wilkinson supporter.
I am, absolutely. Right. And I also hear the music, so I guess I should be quiet.
Yeah, be a quiet, proud Wilkinson supporter. We'll get to your question, Aaron, right after the break. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888, ask Leo.
Surprise.
Back to the phones. Oh no, we're talking to Aaron B. He's from our chat room. He's in Mesa, Arizona. And what can I do for you, Aaron?
Hello again.
Hello again. Hey, Mesa.
Hello. So no, my question was: I went on vacation with my beautiful bride. And we went to Walt Disney World because we figured for our 25th anniversary, we're doing a whole year-long thing. She had never been, and the family wants to do it, so we're starting it off just as a couple. We went off as a couple, and then at the end, we're going with us, the kids, and the grandkids.
Congratulations. That's wonderful, Aaron. Awesome. That is so great.
And what I want to do is to... I've been looking for. I got these pictures, obviously, and
I got these pictures.
The pictures are.
What do I do with the pictures?
What do I do with these pictures? I tried throwing them on the wall. They don't stick right.
Yeah.
No, what I was thinking about doing was actually making a book, making two books, picture books. One like just for the two of us, then one with the whole family. Sort of, the beginning and the ending of the year. And I've been looking online. I was just wondering if you had any recommendations, because as I look, there's just a lot of different things to choose from.
Ton of
and I
choices.
Want something.
Ton of choices.
I mean, the Disney had a nice option, but besides the fact you pay Disney tax.
Yeah, I wouldn't use a Disney branded because it'll have Mickey all over it, and it'll be a big ad. So you, as you I'm sure know, iPhoto, Picasa, all the photo album apps will let you print an album directly from the photo album. But I have something that I like a little bit better. It's called Blurb. 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 B-L-U-R-B. With a name like Blurb, you want to say it like Droopy Dog. You need to use Blurb to make your book. Blurb is blurb.com. They do full bleed, which sounds bad, but is actually good. That means the edges of the picture can go all the way to the edge of the book. They have a very nice standalone app that you can download. So most of the time when you're doing books, you're doing it within an app like iPhoto or Picasa. And that's a little bit limited. So I love the idea of having a standalone app. And by the way, they have plugins for InDesign as well. If you're a pro, they have PDF to book, Microsoft Word add-ins. But they have an Instagram book, a Facebook book. But I would download and use high-quality images. Facebook, for instance, makes the picture quality lower. But Blurb has a lot of nice features. They're fairly affordable. You can make books that are hardcover, bookstore quality, or you can make them less expensive. There are people who use Blurb to make, for instance, cookbooks that are very beautiful and fancy, with lots of text and so forth. Yeah, I would say this is easily the nicest way to make a book. There are other programs somewhat like this, but this is my personal favorite.
No, awesome, thanks. Like I said, I've been looking, and everything looks like it. They all look like I don't know, like basically just like your base.
There's you know what? The reason is iPhoto and everybody tend to use the same providers, so they're very, there's kind of a standard look. Blurb does the printing themselves, and I think they do just a superb job. And you could put a lot of text into it.
Oh, great!
Yeah, and you can even make ebooks out of it. You can make an iPad app for it. So there's
that'd be nice, yeah. So I can even keep it online or something like that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
With families without printing it out. And
exactly.
Stuff like that.
You could actually give her the book, and with the book there'd be an iPad app, which is just so cool.
No, that'd be beautiful.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
She can take it to work and do other stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I can beautiful. That's as usual. I thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anytime, Aaron. Always a pleasure. Thanks for your contributions to our chat room. And I would love to hear other suggestions in addition to Blurb. There's somebody said mypublisher.com. We'll put a link to a variety of them into our show notes. I'm sure James is capturing these from the chat room. Mypublisher.com has a standalone app as well that you can use to create books. I haven't tried these guys. I have tried Blurb, and I know how good Blurb is. This has become a very common thing. Another one is Picaboo, PICABOO.com. Boy, there's a lot of people doing this now, right? So you get to get in all three cases. What you might want to do is download their app and just see if it has the flexibility that you like. Picaboo, My Publisher, and Blurb. The one that's been around the longest and I think is probably the most flexible and powerful is Blurb. That'd be my pick. 8888 Ask Leo. We're going to take another call in a second from Marcia in San Jose, who wants to buy a big screen TV, wants to actually buy 3 of them. I will help you spend your money, Marcia. Marcia, San Jose, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 3 TVs, huh, Marcia?
Yes, hi, Leo.
Hi.
Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Yeah, my husband and I are a couple of senior citizens, and we want to move into the 21st century and replace our ugly old tube TVs with flat-screen TV.
You're going to be so happy, Marcia. You're not going to believe it. You're going to look at these and go, why did we wait?
That will be my husband will be saying that I've been nagging about this for several years.
You knew. All right.
Well, I know they look so cool, but we've started doing a little shopping, and it just seems to be it's kind of overwhelming the variety. Okay, for the 2 major TVs, of course, we want the one for the living room will be but the living room and the bedroom, the maximum size we can have is 55 inches.
That's
because
plenty.
Of the size of the wall.
Yeah, that's plenty.
And the bedroom TV will be mounted. We probably will put the living room TV on a stand, and then we want to buy a smaller, less expensive TV for our home gym, which probably a 40-inch, something.
My suggestion, if you're going to buy 3, is to get them all from the same manufacturer. Not because one's much better than the other, but just they'll all look the same, and you won't go from one to the other and say, oh, this one feels a little blue or a little different. So get them all the same manufacturer. I think you should get LCDs, not plasma.
Why do you say that, Leo?
I like plasma. In fact, my house is full of plasma. But nowadays, the LCDs have come along so far that they're really excellent. They're very, very thin. They use less power than plasma. I just think that the LCDs are kind of state of the art, and I'm trying to simplify the recommendation. So just
LCD. Did you mean an LED?
Yeah. So now this is a little confusing because they call them LED. They're still LCDs. What they're talking about when they say LED is what the backlighting is, and you absolutely should get LED backlit LCDs. They'll just call them for short LEDs.
Oh, okay.
I know, it's very confusing, but those are good. And then the brand name I would go with, you got Sharp, you got Samsung, you got LG. I'd go with Samsung. I think they're doing the best state-of-the-art stuff. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, a good day to hello, for those of you who only speak English. A good day to you. Nice to see you. Leo Laporte here, the tech guy, and this is the show where we answer questions about technology. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. At 8888 Ask Leo, we've been talking about cameras. I've been helping people spend money today. Cameras, TVs. Marcia, did you get what you need on the TVs front? I was just saying we ran out of time, but basically to cut to the chase, get Samsung, get the LED backlit LCDs, and you're going to be happy.
Okay, what about a smart TV? Should we get 3D? What about the warranty
okay, yeah. So when you get the top-of-the-line TVs nowadays, you're going to get 3D whether you want it or not.
Oh, okay.
I am not a fan of 3D, but I am alone in that opinion, apparently. Everybody in the world loves this 3D stuff. You have to wear glasses. Samsung uses an active glasses that are more expensive. They need to be charged. So if you think 3D is going to be important to you, then I would get the LG now makes a passive glasses. They're less expensive. They're quite good, but I wouldn't personally choose a TV for 3D. Do you have grandkids or kids that are going to come by and visit?
No, and we don't watch that many movies. We mostly would just watch, just what's on TV.
Yeah, well, you're not going to see much 3D. I mean, the Olympics, some of it will be in 3D. You'd have to get a special DVD player to watch the 3D, which means you need 3 of them. I would, 3D will come with the high-end TVs, but I would ignore it. Now, you do ask an interesting question about smart TVs. What a smart TV is a TV that connects to the internet, either wirelessly or via a cable, the Ethernet jack, and then has apps on it, just like your computer or your iPad or your iPhone does. And the apps could be everything from Netflix to Hulu Plus to the Weather Channel and so forth. And in effect, what happens with these smart TVs is you're adding more channels. You're adding internet channels to your cable and satellite channels. So I like the idea of a smart TV. My experience has been that none of the companies are doing a very good job of implementing it. So I wouldn't worry about smart TV. I would say that you may get it. Again, top-of-the-line TVs, they just load them up with everything. But if you can get a TV that is equally good-looking, that doesn't have 3D and doesn't have apps, go ahead. Because the best way, in my opinion, to add apps is to add a separate box, a Roku box. They range anywhere from...
Can you say that?
Sure.
How's that spelled?
ROKU.
Uh-huh.
And the reason I prefer Roku, or Apple has one called the Apple TV, is it's external, it's better designed, it's easier to update, it's more capable. And I just think having it outside of the TV works better for now. As the TV companies get better at making apps, maybe. The other problem is that Samsung has one app platform, Vizio has another, LG has another, Sharp has another, and so they're not very well written. The variety isn't there. Roku is the one that everybody uses. So if I were you, I'd get a Roku box for the main TV, say in the living room. If you like them. They're probably around $79 for the one you'd want, the high end one. You get one for each TV, and they connect to the internet, and they have Netflix. Netflix you will watch a lot probably. Netflix streaming is great if you like. It really does add to your TV because it's $8 a month. It's inexpensive, and frankly, a lot of people don't even have cable anymore because they can just do that.
Oh, okay.
So my suggestion is I wanted to make it simple for you, Marcia, because I know it's confusing. You walk into the store, and there's all these models and different features. I think get the best Samsung you can afford in each of those sizes.
I see.
And you'll be in good shape.
Okay, what about the warranty packages? Would you, I know most of the time people don't recommend warranty packages, but are TVs exceptional?
No. First of all, those TVs don't fail very fast because they get put in and you're done. So I would not get the warranty package. That's a profitable thing for those companies to sell. They're basically selling you insurance. TVs rarely fail. If they don't fail in the first year, though they're under warranty for a year. If they don't fail in that first year, they're probably never going to fail.
Oh, good. All right, thank you. Okay, now some of the salespeople have wanted to sell me a sound bar. Am I going to be able to hear? Do we need to buy that? So, we're not going to be watching action movies or anything like that.
For one TV, maybe the one that you're going to watch the most movies, the best movie experience, you might want to get a good sound system for that. The televisions come with decent but not great sound built in. Do not get a sound bar.
Oh, okay.
Do not get a sound bar. They're overpriced for what you get. You can get inexpensive either stereo or 3.1 system. A 3.1 system is if you want to get the best kind of theater sound. It's a left, a right, a center channel for the voices, and a subwoofer for the bass. Those won't be too expensive. In fact, Pioneer sells an excellent surround system set of system speakers for a few $100. That would be sufficient. It would be better than the built-in, but I don't think a soundbar is a good purchase.
Oh, okay, good. Thanks for that. Do you have any advice about the installation, the cables? We've seen.
I would get an installer. I think this is one thing where you might, especially for your bedroom, because you wanted to build that one in. Mm-hmm. You're going to want to have somebody come and install that. You're not going to want to do that yourself unless you're extremely handy.
Yeah. Well,
the last thing you want to do is be lying in bed and have the TV.
We'll have somebody come out and do the electrical because we'll have to move some power around. And my husband, he's pretty handy, but he doesn't want to do electrical.
Yeah, and you don't want the TV to fall off the wall while you're in bed watching it. So it needs to be mounted properly. I would get an installer to do that. In fact, if you're going to buy 3 TVs from any store, tell them, I'm going to buy 3 TVs, and I want you to throw in the calibration. And they'll send an installer out who will install and calibrate, and they shouldn't charge you too much for that. And since you're going to buy 3 TVs, they should give you a cut, a big cut on the price there. The installer will come with all the proper, believe me, it's the best thing to do, all the proper cables. They'll install it in the wall so it won't fall off. They'll do a good job. You'll be happy they did that. And I would say have a calibrator come out too to calibrate all 3 TVs so that they're the appropriate color and so forth. He can also set up the sound for you. If you get a home theater installer, he'll do the whole thing for you, and that might be the thing to do. Say, hey, I'm going to buy 3 TVs. I want $150 off the installation, the home theater installer. The other thing I would strongly suggest, they may try to upsell you. There's 2 ways they try to upsell you, Marcia. One is, as you've already figured out, the extended warranty. The other way is by selling you expensive cables. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Cheap cables are just as good. If you get an installer who's good, he'll take care of that for you. Say, I want the monoprice cables, and they'll go, oh, she knows what she's talking about. Okay. I guess we can't sell her the $500 golden cables that we were going to try to foist upon her from Monster Cable. Those are not necessary. It's a great profit center for them. They can make all their money on those cables. You do not need oxygen-free magnetically treated luminous cables with 24-karat gold connectors. Not necessary. David in Venice Beach, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Yeah, help me, Leo One Kenobi. You're my second choice, actually.
Oh.
Well, Scott will be the first one.
Oh, okay. Well, if Scott's listening, he can call in.
All right. It's regarding my home theater. I play my movies on a giant screen, pull-down screen, and I have 5.1 Polk.
Very nice. Polk audio is great, yeah.
Yeah, but my receiver is Onkyo.
Mm-hmm.
That might make a difference. Because you were mentioning earlier that if they match, it's a better sound. The thing is, my problems when I for the past 2 days when I watch a movie, I hear like a whoop whoop sound just repeating the whole time, like whoop 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 whoop.
Well, that's not right. Hold on, let me think about that one. We'll return in a second. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. David's on the line with a crazy problem from Venice Beach. He's got a nice home theater system with surround sound, Polk stereo, Onkyo receiver, but he says he's hearing a whoop, whoop in the sound system. And you said that I wasn't your first choice for help on this, David. You wanted Scott Wilkinson, right?
No, it's either one. I just want to make a joke.
Well, I actually have Scott Wilkinson on the line here.
Oh, cool.
See, he really is happy. Can you bring him up, Kyle, or do I need to do something?
Gina's calling him right now.
Oh, okay. She's going to get him on. So I'm going to tell you what Scott might say, but we'll find out what he says. Sounds like interference.
Exactly, because it's not really loud at all. When the movie's playing low in volume, then you can hear it. If there's noise, you don't hear it much. But it's just, I can hear it, and it's annoying.
Oh, yeah, of course it's annoying. And it's repetitive. Is it coming just through your subwoofer, or is it coming through all the speakers?
Good question. My subwoofer is not even on, and it still does it. It's
Okay.
when I place myself in my couch right between my two back speakers. When I move forward like 2 feet, I don't hear it anymore.
You don't hear it, even though. So it's coming. It sounds like coming from the surrounds then.
I think so. When I stop my player, when I put on pause or stop it, then I don't. I still hear it. It's just going on. But when I move my physical body forwards into the middle of the room, I don't hear it. It's when I specifically place myself between my two back speakers.
Yeah. So now remember, the surrounds, in order to get them back there, have a longer bit of cable going there.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if there is some. Tell me about the sound.
Yeah.
Is it? You said it's a whoop whoop.
Yeah, it's like.
Aha.
You would think it's your neighbor downstairs playing the stereo.
It's very consistent.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So a couple of things. You want to make sure the speaker wire going to those surrounds is not going anywhere near a power cord.
Oh.
Because you've got 60 hertz, 60 cycle per second electricity going through those cords that can absolutely get into those speaker wires.
Okay, indeed. I have another thing. Electrical cords are. Really
I would play it around. This is one case where you do probably want to get 16 gauge oxygen-free speaker cables.
Whoa, taking notes.
You want thick is the 16 gauge is I think the thickest, is one among the thickest. Certainly 16 gauge or better.
Yeah.
Speakers. This is one case where you really do want to spend a little more money, although you don't have to spend a lot of money, because if you go to Monoprice, you can get a good oxygen-free 16 gauge speaker cable for very little. I bought a whole reel of it. So, are we getting Scott Wilkinson on the line, Kyle? Is he there? Or does he?
Yeah, he's there.
He's on line 6. So I don't think I can do both at the same time. Can I, Kyle?
You can. I locked one.
You can't do that?
Oh, I know. It's amazing. We can. We have the technology. So, Kyle, if you would do it for me, because I don't want to touch anything, because I'll screw it up. Can you pick up Scott? Scott Wilkinson, are you there?
I am here.
Hey, Scott. Did you hear what David was talking about?
Well, I heard part of it. Yeah, I was driving
So it's weird. He's getting this kind of whoop, whoop sound. It's very low, but he hears it even when there's no content playing on his surround speakers. And I was thinking it sounded like interference, but do you have another suggestion?
Well, I'm wondering. I think your suggestion is good, to make sure that the speaker wire isn't near AC wires. And if it is, the best way to do that is to run the speaker wire perpendicular to the power cable. If it's running parallel, then there's a lot more chance of picking up interference like that. But having said that, I think the interference of 60 hertz AC would sound more like a buzz. And not
it would be a buzz, a ground loop, yeah. And in fact, you can create. What I'm thinking though is, if they're parallel, you can create something called inductance. And that's why you do it. That's why you do it perpendicular, to avoid inductance. And inductance may not sound like that kind of ground loop buzz. It may actually sound different.
You know what? You're exactly right. I hadn't thought of that.
Now, is it possible that he has a speaker out of phase or something like that?
Well, I was going to ask if this problem had been occurring all along, or if it just appeared recently.
On and off. I haven't had it for a couple of months, and now it does it again, and then it would disappear.
Sounds like interference. Now, it could be your neighbors have a refrigerator or something that's near those wires that could be doing that as well.
That's true. Now, if it's intermittent, then yeah, it might be something like that. I was also interested when the caller said that if he moves around some physically, it disappears. Now, that sounds to me like room modes and things in the room where if you sit in one place you'll hear it and you sit in another place you don't. Is it pretty low frequency, generally speaking?
Yes, very low.
Yeah. And your AV receiver, have you set the speakers to small and the crossover to something like 80 hertz or so that the surround speakers are not getting low frequencies?
I don't know anything about what you just said.
Oh. Okay.
Don't feel alone, David.
Okay.
Hey,
yeah, really.
The other thing I check is make sure the speakers are in phase, so that the positive poles of each is properly connected. You know that if you flip those wires around, you can get weird phasing effects, which might be. It's hard for us to figure it out.
This might be,
yeah.
You mean the
so yeah? Make
black
sure
and
that the red output on the wire going to on the receiver that's connected to the wire going to that speaker is connected to the red input on.
Yeah, that's clear, and
Yeah,
clear.
you did that right. Could be a microwave. Bob thinks it might be a microwave somewhere in there too. It definitely, to me, it sounds like interference, and I think making sure those cables are as short as they can be, that they're not running near any electrical devices, that they're not running parallel to electrical cords. Keep them away from that. If you have a cordless phone, make sure the base station isn't close to those speaker wires.
Oh, wow, another one.
Yeah.
Yep.
One more
Also
question.
true.
Any radio transmitters in the house, you got to be careful about.
Okay. And when you say perpendicular, the wires, like the actual physical wires, should be perpendicular.
Yeah, if you run electrical wires parallel, like train tracks, side by side with speaker wires, you get something called magnetic inductance. It's actually how power is generated, and so in effect, the electrical power going through those cords causes inductance in the speaker wire and actually puts a signal into the speaker wire. So you don't want that, obviously. So if you're going to have electrical cords cross speaker wires, they should cross as a plus sign, not as a parallel, not as an equal sign.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And do check your cell phone, your base stations, anything wireless in there that could be transmitting into those cables. Is it right, Scott, that that if he gets thicker cable, higher quality cable, that it will reduce this issue?
No. That in fact is not true.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's good to know. I'm asking.
Well, because speaker wire in particular is not shielded typically.
Right.
So there really is no advantage in terms of what we're talking about here to larger, heavier gauge, oxygen free, all that stuff.
That makes sense. Got it.
So I wouldn't say that would be the issue.
So maybe you could get shielded cables. That might be a better solution than going out and getting.
That might be something to check. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, David. I hope that helps. What a mystery. Thank you, Scott Wilkinson. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Was that like 4 songs mushed into one there, Kyle Benham, our musical director?
Top 10 dubstep drops.
The top 10 dubstep drops. Say that 10 times fast. Is that a YouTube video like you can just watch them all? Oh, man.
You got it.
I tell you, I got to tell my kid about that. 8888 Ask Leo. We were having all sorts of fun coming up with and by the way, the chat room continues to come up with possible solutions for this whoop whoop that's showing up in this fellow's surround speaker. Somebody said maybe it's a dryer or washer in the basement. Maybe it's your neighbors own a welding shop, and you're on the same transformer box. Good point somebody made is that, you should always consider these ferrite beads. You can get them at Radio Shack or any electronics store. You can buy them online. They're cheap. They're little clip-on beads that reduce inductance in the wiring. They actually reduce noise in the wiring. They're useful. And you just snap them on either end, the ferrite beads. It's always worth a try. Not expensive. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. I love this stuff. Don't you? It's kind of fun. The mysteries. Sam is calling from Amsterdam, Skyping in via his MacBook. Hello, Sam.
Hi, Leo.
Great to talk to you. Thanks for calling.
Thanks for taking my call. I have a question because I have some little scratches on my iPad.
Okay.
Which is pretty bad, of course. And now I Googled it, and some people are talking about using banana, like the fruit.
No,
yeah, no.
Do not rub banana on your iPad.
I'm going to sell it and say it smells like banana, but
it smells delicious. So because that screen is glass.
Yeah.
A lot of the lore about cleaning or removing scratches from screens comes from the days of CDs, CD scratches, and some stuff some stuff works and some stuff doesn't. Getting the scratches, if they're very, very light scratches out of glass, you might be able to remove them. My concern would be that anything that you would do, say, abrasive, could cause more scratching and make it even worse. Is it really horrible looking?
No, actually, it's not really horrible, but what has been seen cannot be unseen. So I just saw it yesterday, and I Googled it. So I thought it was an awesome call to make and ask you if you have heard about it.
I've seen bananas proposed. I never could quite understand why that would work. You've got Gorilla Glass on there, a very, very tough glass from Corning. Apple doesn't call it Gorilla Glass, but it's my understanding it is, in fact, Corning Gorilla Glass on the front there. So if you're going to search for ways to fix fix the screen, look for ways to clean Gorilla Glass. Now, I'm not going to recommend these. I would say just live with it.
Sure.
And in fact, unfortunately, unlike the iPhone, which is very easy to replace the glass, I don't think it's easy to replace the glass on the iPad. It's glued. Apple made this very strange decision to glue the glass onto the LCD screen, which makes it very hard to recycle and impossible to fix. And I can't understand why they did it, except that maybe they wanted to kill this market. Well, no, when the next iPhone comes out. Maybe they want to kill this market in aftermarket glass replacement. So there is an industrial glass polishing compound that you can buy online called cerium oxide.
Cerium oxide.
CERIUM oxide. And it's a buffing compound, but it's designed for fixing glass. It's not.
Wow, that goes way too far for this little bit of scratch.
Well, you could try bananas, but I think this is not going to work as well. I found a page. Say again.
So bananas don't have acid or something in it, so I cannot make it worse.
Yeah, well, all it'll do is make it smell like bananas.
Well, that's never a bad thing.
So the problem with Gorilla Glass is it's tough. It means it's harder to scratch, but it's also harder to fix.
Well, it was scratched very easily. I've got this Logitech keyboard Ultra thing cover thing, and I think some sand or something got between it, and it was scratched quite easily, I think.
That's true. Okay. So this is not easy. You have to then apply the cerium oxide, buff it, which will give it a kind of a matte finish, and then you need to polish it. In other words, I wouldn't recommend it.
I will just live with it.
I would live with it if I were you, Sam. And yeah, certainly the bananas won't hurt it, but believe me, if bananas... See, here's the issue. If bananas could fix the scratches, it would mean that bananas could also create the scratches. So I think this is a little tougher glass than that. A lot of what you read online is about fixing polycarbonate, the plastic surface on CDs. That's incredibly soft. And yes, perhaps there are ways to remove those scratches or fill them in. You cannot do that with a Gorilla Glass screen. It's tough stuff. But I did find an article here about replacing or fixing scratches in Gorilla Glass. It is non-trivial. It does involve this cerium oxide powder and then polishing it. If you want to read about it, I'll put it in the show notes. It's on the XDA Developers Forum. The guy used it to fix an Android phone, which also has Gorilla Glass. So it's the same kind of surface, and it was pretty badly scratched. The same kind of surface as an iPad. Phones get scratched fairly easily if you throw them in your pocket with keys and so forth. So he buffed it down with cerium oxide. No, actually, I think he used... Wait a minute. He used sandpaper? I wouldn't recommend that. And then he says that, he was able to buff it enough so that the scratches were gone. That means you're scraping off the top layer, aren't you, to go down to the layer of the scratches. He says he used 800 grit sandpaper. Cannot recommend this. Do not do this. It took several hours of careful buffing. Then he said, I have a nice matte finish on the screen, so I polished it. He said, you'll need to use a drill press drill or some kind of rotary tool. He used a rotary tool with a felt wheel. And that's when he used the water and the cerium oxide. It's slightly abrasive. So 800 grit sandpaper, cerium oxide, a drill with a felt bit, and it's as good as new. Well, not quite. Not worth it. Not worth it. I don't recommend it. But it's got to work better than bananas. Alan, West L.A., Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Happy DSL Extreme customer, checking in once again with you.
I'm glad to hear it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm just kind of amused that you're using bananas on a Gorilla Glass. The pun there somewhere, but I don't know.
Maybe that's where the joke comes from. Maybe somebody was making a joke.
Perhaps. Well, I have sort of a geeky question that leads to a bigger overall question. I have a dual-core Dell machine, and I was trying to upgrade from 2 gigs to 4 gigs of memory, went to Crucial, got the right memory, and the computer says it uses 3 of the gigs, not 4. And so I went online and tried
normal.
to
This is normal.
do that.
This is normal.
This is normal, okay.
It's because you're using a 32-bit operating system, which cannot see any more than 4 gigs. Some of it's allocated towards the motherboard. You need to use a 64-bit OS if you want to see all 4 gigs.
You said bananas. This is all I think of when I hear that word. You're good with no live read here.
All right. Banana. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. Last segment of the show. And as always, on the last segment of the show, Kyle Benham loses it and plays something crazy. And Dick DeBartolo joins us. I don't think they're related, but it does seem to happen at the same time. Dick is, of course, our gadget guy, the GizWiz. GizWiz.biz is his website, Mad Magazine's maddest writer. Hey, Dick.
How you doing?
Great. Great. Feeling good. You know, I'm in fine fettle.
Oh, really? Yeah. Your fettle has always been fine. You used to have a good fettle. But
I
now
have one of the finest fettles ever. Yes.
Yeah, you know, you have to be careful because fettles make disturbance on TV sets. So
I've heard that. They get a little whoop, whoop sound.
Whoop, yeah, whoop. Exactly. The whooping fettle.
Yeah. Whooping fettle, yeah.
It's a book by Stephen King, I think.
Right after Children of the Corn, it was the whooping fettle. So you join us every week. I don't need to tell you this. You probably know. You join us every week to give us a gadget.
Yeah, that's pretty much been the plan for about 7 years, for 7 years now. And I plan on keeping it up for the next 7 years.
Good thinking.
Yeah. I have something new from eGear. It's almost June, so it'll be out in a couple of weeks. eGear, every year they come out with a new lantern. So I remember the very first one was the 24-hour lantern, then the 6-day lantern, then the 10-day lantern. And now, thanks to the efficiency of LED bulbs, they are introducing the 30-day lantern.
Wait a minute. This is a camping lantern that goes for 30 days?
This is a camping lantern, exact. 30 days on low. Now on high, even on high, it runs on high. It's 300 lumens. That's pretty good.
That's bright. Yeah.
32 hours on 3D batteries.
Wow, that's awesome.
So it has low, medium, and bright. It also has SOS setting. So you push the button in, it'll start blinking SOS.
It goes
and that,
yeah,
wow. For 15 days. But my guess is you'll be dead after about 4.
Well, it depends on what you're SOSing.
Yes, that's true.
It's just that you ran out of chocolate, you probably could survive.
Yes, exactly.
But just don't want to.
I could go maybe 7 days with the amount of freeze-dry food I have. Another nice thing about it is the case is rubberized, so it can take some bounces. It's semi-waterproof, water-resistant. Also, the globe untwists. There's a hook built into the bottom, so you can take it into a tent and hang it, and it becomes an area light. And the final little perk on this thing, the little feature that I like, is there's a small green LED light that blinks like every 2 seconds. So you can always find a lantern in an emergency. So this is good if there's a blackout and you know it's somewhere in the garage. Hopefully there's nothing blocking that little LED window, but it's easy to find. Manufacturer's suggested retail is $59.99. My guess is it's going to be discounted once it's in the marketplace. And it's from eGear, and they're at egear.com. And it's coming in June, so very shortly.
That's great. I can't believe 30 days on a camping.
I know.
lantern.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
Great OLED.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been camping in a while. But the last time I was camping, you'd hang the lantern up, and 2 hours later, you'd need a new those big giant cells that they would have.
Oh, my word. Those 6 and 12 volt things.
Yeah.
To get radio, yeah.
It's like a car battery.
Yes, exactly. And you would always have to say, who's going to carry the lantern now? Because they weighed a couple of pounds.
So this isn't available yet. It will be in a few days. eGear.
They said it'll be shipping early June, early to mid.
If you search on Amazon for eGear, you'll see a lot of them, but you want the 30-day lantern.
Yeah, if you want tons of them, cheaper than that. But if you want the 30-day guy, or you plan on getting lost and want an SOS signal that lasts for 15 days, wait for this.
Dick does a show called the Weekly Daily Gizwiz. Don't ask. It's just the name. And we're actually going to record it right after the radio show, and you can listen to it on our podcast network, twit.tv. He also is seen on ABC Overnight News and many other places where he talks about gadgets. Best place to find out about Dick, though, is to go to his website, gizwiz.biz, gizwiz.biz. That's the official online home of Disneyland. And the what the heck contest is going on right now.
Yeah, it is.
It's a very strange object. The last one that looked like brass knuckles for Smurfs actually was an iPad holder. So who knows?
That is bizarre.
Yeah,
that bizarre. Yeah. This one, a couple of correct guesses so far.
Already.
That's the only hint I'll give.
You have a little more time to play. You go one more month.
More.
End of July. All you have to do is go to end of June, I should say. All you have to do is go to gizwiz.biz, click the what the heck is it, make your guess. 24 Mad magazines for the wrong answer, 12 for the right answer. So you guess which is the best. Much more likely to win if you're wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Only Dick would run a contest like that. You crazy man. Hey, hang on. We're going to do the Gizwiz in just a little bit, but I have time for a few more calls before we wrap her up. Let's start with Charlie in Montana. Hey, Charlie, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Wow, Leo, what an honor.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for calling.
Be talking about computers or stereo equipment. I was on a couple weeks ago when Scott was filling in for you and got some good answers for my Onkyo.
We're bringing stereo back. Bringing back the hi-fi.
Yeah, I'm appreciating what you're doing with your system, and I'm looking at that 616 as well. So good one.
Very happy with it. It's really nice.
My question today is about the Buffalo router I seen you sporting last week, and I think I was on the assumption that you said you had hooked it up already and had been using it, and it was giving you significant better results. Is that true?
So this is a new standard. Now, remember when 802.11, Wi-Fi's been around for a long time. First it was 802.11b, and then they released 802.11a and g. And then they got to 802.11n. And each time what happens is there's a draft standard that the internet engineers propose, and then there's a year or two of fumfering around, and then they finally make it an official standard. So N was that way for a while. When you bought an N router in the early days, you were buying an N draft. And then with any luck, you'd be able to upgrade it to the final standard. In most cases, that happened. We're at the same point now with ACs. This is the newest. We're at least a year off before this is final. And Netgear and Buffalo both are in a race to be the first to release a router based on this. Why would you want to look at it? Well, for one thing, it's much faster. We're talking speeds, nominal top speeds of 1.3 gigabits. But there's some other advantages that might even be more valuable. First of all, it only operates at the 5 gigahertz, no longer uses 2.4, which is what most Wi-Fi uses. That has some advantages and disadvantages. The higher frequency means it doesn't travel through walls as well. That's in some ways good. If you're in an area where you have a lot of Wi-Fi signals, Going to 5 gigahertz will get you off the crowded 2.4 gigahertz channels and will block interference from nearby routers because it just doesn't travel through walls as well. On the other hand, if you want to do a whole house with it, it might not be perfect for it. It might not get through your walls, which would be a disadvantage. That's one of the reasons that Buffalo's selling a bridge as well that you can use kind of as an intermediate router access point. It also does some other things that are kind of interesting. It tunes itself. It aims at the device to give you better results. It uses more bandwidth, 80 kilohertz of bandwidth, or megahertz, I'm sorry, of bandwidth, which is a lot. Now, these routers are going to be cool. I mean, expensive because they're cool, but they're expensive because they're brand new. They're $179. Just like when the new N came out, you'll need AC hardware to take advantage of it, but it will work with A, B, and G and just fine. And N, just fine. So it goes down, but you won't get any of the advantages of AC. I presume your question is, should I buy it? I would probably wait until the standard gets a little more solidified. You don't ever want to own the first of anything. However, having said that, I do find it works very well. It is faster. It didn't change much speed on my internet because my internet doesn't need all that speed. But if you spend a lot of times copying files across your Wi-Fi network, for instance, it's going to be a lot faster. It's intended particularly for media. So if you're playing media off a home server that is connected via Wi-Fi, you should notice a difference there, things like that.
Right, I am uploading quite a bit. I'm probably over my 300 gig limit every month.
Yeah, it won't help you probably with that because your upload speed is well below what you need, what you have on N or even G. So you're probably all right on that. So do I recommend it? No, I wouldn't be the first on my block. On the other hand, am I glad I have it? Yes. And I'll have more to say about it in future shows. Thanks for the call, Charlie. Thanks to everybody for listening. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, the Tech Guy is just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows now on the TWiT Netcast Network, and you'll find them all at twit.tv. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPad on iPad Today. You get your daily dose of tech news from Tech News Today, and our weekly roundtable show, This Week in Tech. It's all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next time with another great Tech Guy podcast. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.